Join us for an interesting episode with Paul Constanzo, reformed banker and founder of Ink 13, a custom printing company for promotional materials. Let's see what Paul has to say.
The Elven Star Podcast. And now your host, Kevin Ferry.
Hi, welcome to the Elven Star Podcast. Today's special guest is Paul Constanzo from Ink 13, maker of custom apparel. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Kevin. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so like many great things in my life, I was introduced to you through Leslie Gordon, my partner, who, by the way, was our first guest on the Elven Star Podcast. Yeah. And she turned me on to you many years ago, and Ferry Law has purchased T-shirts and sweatshirts and cool canvas bags that we hand out, hats.
Yep.
I don't know, probably some other things I've forgotten over the years, but you've made us a lot of good quality gear.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Definitely. And actually, Leslie, back when she had the yoga studio, was almost one of my first customers. This was like 15, 16 years ago.
That's cool. That's right. And she was telling me that she met you through, I think, Avon Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
And at the time you were living Avon, Connecticut.
Mhm.
You were living up in Burlington, Connecticut.
Yes.
And were smart enough probably to join a bunch of chambers.
Chambers and other networking groups also, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get into the genesis of Ink 13, which, as I understand it, happened out of necessity.
Right.
Right. But let's go back even further and just talk about where did you grow up?
Right here in New Britain.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Whereabouts?
West Street, and went to St. Anne's School, which isn't there anymore.
Uh-huh.
And I even went to college at Central.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So I lived in New Britain until I graduated college.
Wow, it's really funny. I'm meeting more and more people that were original New Britonites. Yeah. So as I understand it, we talked a little bit this morning that your passion when you were younger, you wanted to go into art, photography, I think.
Right. Photography was definitely my main concentration all through high school and in college. Worked for Daykill Studio that used to be in New Britain here, and photographed a wedding every weekend for them. And also during the summers when I was off, worked in their darkroom developing film, printing pictures.
Wow.
Yep.
So for people that are listening that have no idea what a darkroom is
Oh, yeah.
and why you would need something like that, which I think is probably anyone who's like, how many years old or younger?
Oh, at least 20 years ago, everything started switching to digital.
Yeah, right. Okay. So what exactly is that all about?
So back before digital cameras, we had to take pictures with film, and you had one shot at it. You didn't get to look at it on the back of your camera and delete it and try it again. You had to know, I'm going to expose this correctly because this is my one shot. And you only had like 24 or 36 exposures on a roll of film. So it wasn't you go and shoot hundreds of pictures back then.
Yeah.
So that's how you developed it in a dark room, it was called, but it had the, all the equipment and chemicals to turn your blank film into your negatives. And then you print it on photographic paper.
Yeah, we'll have to throw up some images of a darkroom so people can really get this. But it's a whole process involved chemicals. It took some time.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So first of all, you had to buy a roll of film,
Mm-hmm.
which was available at, the supermarkets or the drugstores.
Yeah. They used to even have, was the camera shop here in New Britain on Main Street that was so popular back then.
Yeah. And so, like you said, you couldn't look at your picture. You had to get it developed first. And if you weren't developing it yourself, which, by the way, very few people did that, you would bring it somewhere, and then they'd give you a little piece of paper with your sort of receipt and say, come back in a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are the days.
Yep.
All right. And then you didn't go into photography past college? Is that what happened? Did you end up going to school for something else? Or?
I went to college for finance.
Okay.
Still in my head that I was going to go into the photography field when I got out of college because it was my passion. So when I graduated, this was back in 88, I bought a ticket to Los Angeles, and I said, "This is if I'm going to be a photographer, this is where I want to do it." Because I was also interested in music, and my ideal job would have been getting a job photographing the music scene out there. So went out there, didn't know anybody, got myself a little studio apartment in Los Angeles, and started looking for work.
Wow, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
yep. And I did. I actually worked for it was called Rock City Photography, and we photographed ad campaigns and things like that for bands. And I also worked in their dark room during the day. Um, but after a while, my parents were right when they said, if you want to be a photographer, you're going to starve, because it paid very, very little.
Yeah. So you got some excitement. You got to rub shoulders maybe with some famous musicians, but it wasn't really lucrative.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Do you remember any people that you were able to get close to that maybe you took pictures of or anything like that?
80s bands. I had some of Slash and some of Motley Crue. And
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And then we did ad campaigns for, it was a big drumhead company back then, Aquarian drum heads and things like that appeared at a lot of the trade shows and things like that. So it was pretty interesting. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. For how many years did you do that?
Oh, God, I don't even think I lasted a full year when I realized I better put my finance degree to work and start making some money.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, as an accounting major who had some finance courses, finance is not easy.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed finance and math. At least I enjoyed it when I went to school.
That's cool. I struggled with it, which as a trial lawyer, I have to do very little math, which I appreciate. And if I have to do much number crunching, like if I have a claim with lost wages, we'll get an economist to come up and explain it all. So it's pretty good. So what did you end up doing after you came back from LA?
Well, I still stayed out there.
Oh, you did?
Yep. I just got my first job in finance out there. Yep. That's when I was introduced to mortgage lending. So I ended up working for a company. It was called Southern California Seconds back then. And I remember back in the late 80s, interest rates were absolutely through the roof. And we did hard money lending. So our interest rates were astronomical.
Hard money lending means what?
Not perfect credit. You couldn't qualify for a conventional mortgage.
Okay.
Yep.
And so to put it in context, today, if you have reasonably good credit, you can get a mortgage at what interest rate?
I believe today it's in the around 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back then, if you had reasonable credit back then,
I think it got back then for conforming was 10-ish, maybe over 10, 12%.
So you guys who you work for, you were in like the 14 to 16 range?
18 to 20.
Whew.
Yeah, with 20 points.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
But there had to be the equity in the property. That was what you're lending on.
Yeah, so bankers were somewhat careful, at least at that point, in making sure that they were lending against an asset that had some equity.
Yep. And I think that's when it pretty much really started in the early days of the hard money lending.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So how many years did you do that?
Two. Then came back here to go to grad school and continued on with a financial lender here that did mortgages and also did personal lines of credit and financed commercial things like furniture and things like that. Now, if you remember way back then, you can't just go into a furniture store, fill out one page on the computer and have your credit card right away. Furniture stores and things like that used to have to fax in a handwritten sheet, and then it would come to a company and they would actually have to underwrite it, pull credit, and then let the store know like a half hour later that this customer was approved for a line of credit. Yep.
Far out.
Yeah. So this company that I worked for did pretty much everything, all kinds of lending from mortgages to that kind of thing to personal loans.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And then rolling forward, you stay in the banking area, finance area for a while?
I stayed with them for 5 years. Horrible company though. Hated every day of it, stuck it out, managed a branch in Connecticut. They wanted me to manage a bigger branch. So I moved to New Jersey, right outside of the city, out of near Newark, and did that for a couple of years. And then they wanted me to open a branch in Connecticut, another one. So I ended up moving back to Connecticut to open that branch. And luckily, I got recruited out of the blue. I get a phone call, and the guy on the other end of the line is like, "Your name's Paul Constanzo? My name's Frank D. Costanzo. I think we're cousins," and starts laughing. And I'm like, "Is this a joke?" He's like, "We're opening up a new mortgage company in Connecticut. We're coming to Connecticut. We're a California company. I want you to come work for us." And I still thinking it's a joke. But I'm so miserable where I'm at. I'm like, "All right, I'll entertain this guy. I'll go and meet him." So our first office was in Corporate Center West in West Hartford. And I met him there, and they hadn't even built out the office space yet. So I go there, and it's just like wires hanging from the ceiling. There's just nothing there. And I'm calling him, and he's not even there. So I turn around, and I go back to work. He calls me back. I'm sorry. I missed you. Come back." And I'm like, "No, now I know it's a joke. I'm all set. And he finally talked me into coming back, and it turned out to be legit. And not only was it the fantastic company to work for. Him and I are still great friends. We still keep in touch 30 years later. It's amazing.
Wow, that's cool.
I could easily blew it off, but thank
Wow.
God I didn't.
All right, so I want to go back to what you said. You stayed at a job that you totally hated.
Hated it every day walking in there.
What made you stay for 5 years?
You know what? I don't know. It was that I'm not going to give up. I'm going to stick it out.
Were you thinking eventually you'd get to a role in that company that you would like, or what was it?
I don't know, because I looked at my boss's position. I don't think anybody was happy in that company. It was just a lot different than today. It was very hard sales tactics. You don't meet your quota, you're out type of thing. A lot of pressure, a lot of micromanagement. Everybody's keeping an eye on your numbers, and you're only as good as your last month's numbers were.
Yeah.
They did not treat their employees well. And I don't know. I honestly don't know why I stuck it out that long. Plus, in the late 80s, early 90s, it was, we were still in a recession, so it wasn't, the jobs were not, abundant back then.
Yeah, it was tight.
Finance.
It was tight. All right, so you land this dream job. How long did you stay with that?
Over 10 years.
Yeah?
Yep. And then until they ended up closing with the mortgage crisis.
Okay.
Yep.
And so for people that may not recall what that was all about, tell us when and what and maybe even why, now looking back, why that all happened.
So I was doing the subprime lending. So we were doing loans for people that, had less than great credit, that couldn't get a conventional loan. We were a mortgage bank, so we weren't the broker. We lent the money to the brokers. So if you went in for a mortgage, you'd go into Joe's, mortgage shop and apply for a loan there. The broker isn't the one that actually lends you the money. They would shop it around to different banks and, get the best deal. And we were one of the banks that did that. We were actually the largest bank out there for subprime. We were owned by H&R Block, and in our prime, we were about 2/3 of H&R Block's earnings.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So, and when did you notice that the wheels were coming off with the banking crisis? And by the way, like I said, let's just give a time reference. When did this start to happen?
2007 is when the first signs kind of started.
Mm-hmm.
Late 2006, 2007. Everything was smooth sailing up until then. We knew it was a riskier loan that we would do, but we were very secure with our equity position in the mortgages, and the houses had the value. And we felt there was a lot of companies out there doing it. We felt we were one of the more conservative ones, so we definitely played it on the safer side than some of the other companies. So when the other companies started getting in trouble, we're thinking, well, it's them. We're in a safer position than them. And then it just really caught up with everybody, and it was a combination of the interest rates when you go into a loan with a variable interest rate and the customers are starting out okay, and then 2 years later it starts to adjust and they're not okay with those payments anymore. That was part of it. And the value of the property was the other part of it. And when those two combined, that's when people started getting in trouble.
Some of the banks were playing a little fast and loose too. They were just lending money without even knowing if the property really even existed. They were just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it was like a free for all with this, getting the money out there and trying to earn interest on it, right?
Yeah. And the appraisers were to blame too. We would have appraisal that it looked like a property. There's pictures of a property. That property wasn't there, or it was a shell of a property. The outside looked fine. The inside was gutted. The appraiser didn't mention anything about it. Some areas were hurt worse than other inner cities, like Baltimore, I think was our worst area, where they did that all the time. They're just shells, empty shells. They would send us in pictures of.
Wow.
Yep.
Whoa.
So a combination of the broker in with it, with the appraiser, and we would do our due diligence, and unless we actually sent somebody out there to double check, we wouldn't know. But then once we started doing that and finding out, then, we were able to shut people down.
Yeah. So if people want to go into a deeper version of this, there is a movie that was made about it, right?
And our company was in it. We played a little role when you'll see when they went to Las Vegas on the movie was The Big Short. And when they went to Las Vegas to the convention, and option one was in the background, and the speaker was getting up from option one, and they had the option one banner in the background, we were option one.
Oh, far out. Infamous now. Wow. So basically the whole banking system in this country was like brought to its knees, right?
Yeah. What made it worse was these mortgages. So the mortgage banks don't keep the mortgages and service them. What we did was you sell them on Wall Street. You'd bundle them into a bond and you'd sell them on Wall Street as a mortgage-backed security. You might retain servicing rights, but the risk all fell on Wall Street as a bond.
Mm-hmm. And then shortly thereafter, we were all taught that banks were too big to fail, right? We were all told to ingest and just like, don't taste, don't smell, just believe.
Yeah.
All right. So what happened with your career in banking once that whole hit the fan, as they say?
Once we knew we were going out, people started leaving and going to any other bank that was still in business, and then shortly after they'd lose their job, and you'd start seeing this as other banks would fall. And when it was my turn, I didn't even try to look into mortgage banks. I knew that, even if I found one, it would be short-lived.
Yeah.
I think there was only like one or two of my friends that actually stuck it out, went to more of a conventional mortgage bank and actually stuck it out.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the people left the industry. A lot of the underwriters, account managers, more the office people went into insurance.
Yeah.
I was sales, so I was an account executive, and I didn't want to do like insurance sales or anything like that. So I knew I'd have to figure something out.
Yeah. So at this point, you'd pretty much gone to grad school to kind of increase your chances of a good position in this field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Had invested how long had you invested into that field?
So 18 years.
Yeah. All right. And you said, that's it. I don't see myself staying in this. Then what? How old were you then?
I was early 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then what?
Yep. Got a couple of kids at home already, and it was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
You have to figure something else out.
Yeah, I guess so. What did you figure out?
It took a little while. It took some thinking, and this career kind of just stumbled on it. Like I said, I liked art. I was into photography, and I wanted to stay in real estate, so I got my real estate license and I was doing real estate. Um, and this came along as, well, I did screen printing in high school. I want to show my kids. We'll make a couple of shirts, and it was just a fun process. So I bought a couple screens, some ink, and I was just showing my kids, just messing around how to do it. And one of my friends owned a print shop, paper printing, so like business cards and envelopes, brochures, things like that. Said, hey, I get some customers looking for shirts once in a while. And I sub them out. Do you want to do them? I go, yeah, sure. I'll give it a shot. And then that was actually like how it started. It's like, I probably could do something like this. And I started looking into how big I could scale it. And it's like, well, my kids are in school, so schools are a big thing. They're playing sports. That's a big thing. So that first year, it was just kind of like, I'm going to do real estate and I'm going to see if I could build this up on the side.
Cool.
Yeah.
All by yourself, no employees or anything. This
Right.
is a one-man show.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was a learning curve. I had to figure out, because basically all the relearn what I had learned many years ago and see what changed and see what equipment's out there, and gradually started, building it up and buying more stuff, and kept expanding it.
So the schools, were you going after like sports teams, or what exactly were you doing?
Yeah, school sports, and then town sports.
Yeah.
The soccer leagues and the little league and things like that. They were a huge part to get it rolling.
Yeah. Competitive? Was there a lot of people out there doing this?
It depends. It was hit or miss. I don't think it was at first. And I got into it probably right around the time when some of the bigger online companies started doing it. Like now, if you Google something, custom ink is always going to be top of the list as you go online and you design your own and get it shipped to you. So that's when that started really getting popular. But I didn't see too many, brick and mortar stores out there doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you end up staying in your house, and are you still there?
No, I started when I lived in Burlington. I had, I stayed in my house, did it there. And, God, probably at least almost 10 years out of there. And, as I kept getting bigger and putting in more equipment, thank God I had a big enough space to do this. Because some of the equipment was just monstrous. And, when I built my new house in East Hampton, I made sure I made a big enough space for my shop, knowing that I did want to keep it small with myself and a couple of part-time people when I need them, and just invest in the newest technology and the best equipment to make it more efficient, where I could do it myself instead of wasting money on a rent that could have went towards better equipment.
Yeah, as a business owner myself, I saw that early on, that one of the expenses I wanted to try to get rid of as soon as possible was that rental expense. So you could put it into good employees or maybe marketing or whatever you might need. Did you get to the point where you had full-time staff, or are you still kind of keeping it part-time?
Just keeping it on a need-to basis. Yeah, for sure. Because there's some months that I could easily handle it myself. In between sports seasons, I mean, spring and fall are just huge. But you get that few weeks after 4th of July where it kind of dies down. You get, January kind of dies down after the whole Christmas rush. So it's better to do it as on needed basis with bringing in people.
All right. For those that think it sounds awesome to have a business in your home and to run it yourself and not have to deal with employees and stuff, let's talk about the other side.
Yeah.
How many hours you work, and like how early you start during the day and stuff like that.
I like working early, so sometimes I could be down there 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Yep. Usually 6 is normal, but sometimes definitely 4, 5 o'clock. Weekends during the spring and fall when it's busy, usually every weekend for a while.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What type of machinery do you use to print? And you're printing things like shirts and hats and bags,
Yep.
and I don't know if there's other stuff.
Yeah, pretty much, when I started, it was screen printing. So with screen printing, each color in a design has to have its own screen and its own ink color, and you put it on this big press that with the arms that hold the screen, it looks like a big octopus, and you have to register each color against the rest of the colors to make it look like the logo. So it's pretty time consuming, and to make the screens, to ink it, to register it, and then when you're done with the job, to clean everything.
What's registering it mean?
Making sure each color falls on top of each other in the proper space. So if you look at like your logo, you'd want to put, make sure all those colors land where they're supposed to.
I
Make sure
see.
the white outlines everything and things like that.
I got you.
And it's time consuming because you're tweaking something the size of a pixel, here or there. And if it's a little bit off, you're gonna notice it.
Wow. Wow.
Yep. So very time consuming to do that. And things started shifting about 3 years ago with the equipment, and they came out with something called direct to film, where you're printing all the colors on film with a white ink over it and then an adhesive powder, and then they are heat pressed. So a heat press, it's almost like a big iron. Comes down, the platen comes down and imprints this transfer onto the shirt or whatever you're printing on. So it definitely saves time from, if it's a multicolor job, to having a different screen for each color. So that's when I switched over all my equipment. Sold all my screen printing equipment, and then invested in the new technology.
And this is just within the last few years.
3 years ago, I believe, 3.5 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
And give us an idea of how much of a time saving is involved with this new process.
Depending on how many colors are in the job, it could be a day almost of prep work of having all these screens, making them, and then after the job is done, cleaning them and reclaiming them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that whole day is not part of the process anymore.
Yep.
So literally you could save a day with every new job that you have.
If it has multiple colors and if it's a big enough job, for sure. Yep.
Yeah, that's
And it allows you to do, like if somebody had a 6-color job and wanted only 12 shirts, I mean, that's a nightmare because that's that's a lot of prep work for only 12 shirts.
Yeah.
So
So this gives you the opportunity then to take smaller jobs.
I could do one shirt. And so that opened up the whole business of e-commerce. So I started switching over a good portion of, I'm not saying the majority right now, but a good portion of my sales are e-commerce stores. I have about 35 e-commerce stores. So a school will want to sell spirit wear with, the school name and logo on it. Instead of having the person in charge of a PTA or something like that at the school taking all these orders and writing down everything, collecting the money, putting in the order with me, and then having to distribute them, I make an online store. Customers come in, they just have to share the link, and the parents just go online, order what they want. It gets shipped off to them. The person at the school doesn't have to do anything, worry about taking the order or anything like that. And if the school is doing a fundraiser and they want to profit from it, then I just cut them checks.
Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah, and that way I could leave the store open year round. You don't have to miss out on an ordering period to get your shirt.
Wow, that's nice.
So if I get one shirt that week, I could still, as part of the workflow, have one transfer printed off for that one design.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the people that you get to help you, is it hard to train on this new equipment? Does it take a long time?
Not at all. Compared to screen printing, which was a big learning curve.
That was like more of an art. Like you really had to be in that for a while, right?
Yeah. It was definitely a learning curve for that.
All right. So this stuff that you're doing now, it's literally on a computer for the most part?
I'll design on my computer.
Yeah.
Yep. And then it goes right to it's basically a huge inkjet printer that prints out it's a water-based ink. So it prints that out on the film, and then another head is printing white over it, which gives it the opacity so you could see the colors better. And then it goes through another machine, sprinkles some adhesive powder on it, and then it cures it under some heat so you could handle it without getting messy. And then that, when it gets put in the heat press, it gets remelted into the fabric.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
and then you peel off the film.
I just know if I tried something like this, I'd be getting my fingers stuck and stuff. The paint would be all over the place. It just doesn't sound like my thing. Sounds like it takes someone that's pretty meticulous.
You have to, I tell you have to be a little bit technically inclined because things break for sure.
Yeah.
And you gotta fiddle with things, and you gotta know the computer too.
Yeah. Right.
Because you're gonna run into a problem here or there eventually.
Yeah. And you can't be calling some repairman. It's not like calling the refrigerator repairman, right? That's cool. How long is this equipment of yours designed to last?
Well, it was just really released 3 years ago, and they've made some improvements, and they got newer models out now that look great. But what does the main work of the print head and the carriage and everything, the main components of the machine itself have been around with wide format printing for years. So I think the longevity should be pretty good because you could still replace each, accessory that if it breaks.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what is the stress level like in this job compared to when you're in the finance job?
It's off and on. Being your own boss, handling, if you're handling everything, you're handling the accounting and the workflow and the ordering, and you have customers that have deadlines. It depends. It could still be as stressful as as mortgages.
Yeah, you're wearing a lot of hats all at once. So you don't have like a separate bookkeeper and you're doing everything yourself.
No, and I know people like that. They really are so hands off everything that they'll just print their shirts and let someone else take care of the booking. I'd rather really know what's going on rather than turning everything over to someone else.
Yeah. As a lawyer who used to handle a lot of criminal matters, I represented quite a few people that were the bookkeepers that got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And some of them were like, family friends of the people they worked for who they stole from for 20 years. And like the amount of money was like astronomical, but it was a little over time that nobody noticed.
Right.
So yeah, I'm with you. I like to be in charge and know what's going on. But hey, to some extent, every time you decide to delegate, you're giving up a little bit of control. So
I know I had a hard time with that. I think that's why I'm still the majority of doing the work myself.
Well, you watched what happened in the finance world happen on a large scale.
Yeah.
And huge companies get completely bamboozled by people beneath them that were supposed to be providing, useful photography or appraisals, whatever. Yeah. They just didn't.
Right.
So yeah, that'll stick with you for a while. How do people reach out to your company who want to order or go on to an online store or whatever the case may be?
Most of my customers now, besides the existing customers, are brought in through the website. The school is sharing the link. The soccer club, the Little League, whatever sports team it is sharing the link with all the parents and the people that will be doing the ordering.
And what is that?
My main website is ink13.net, and the other websites would depend on whatever organization it is, which is great because let's say one of my big customers is a running club in Connecticut, Run 169. So they do a 5K in every town and they participate in this club. So they were one of my first customers. So for about 15 years, they have their own website, and it was run169.ink13.net. So I provide them with a website, which was part of my software, and I design it for them. I put the products on it that they want, and it's what I do for all the schools and everybody that comes to me. And they share that link, and it's great. My back-end software gets all the orders in, prepares my purchase orders for me, basically tells me my workflow, And, luckily at the beginning, I says, yeah, I'm going to invest in good software that's not cheap, but it's at the time, no one was really doing that kind of thing and putting out these stores for people.
Yeah, that sounds wild. I mean, on a much larger scale, isn't that sort of what Amazon does for certain of their sellers?
Uh,
Something similar to that?
yeah, but they're not having their own actual website. I'll create
Yeah,
for
okay.
so like let's say the running club, they actually have their own website that I could design and make it look like their own deal.
Cool. So reason 1,572 why small business is better. Customize, right?
Yeah.
Dealing with
Yeah.
people, having your own presence and not getting it gobbled up by
Right.
the big guys.
Right. Absolutely. And my customers know that they get to call me, and
Right.
if there is any issue, like a website's down or something like that, it's like they know they can call me, and
Yeah.
I could look into, okay, this product's not coming up or something like that.
Yeah. So now that your kids have watched you in the finance world and then in this world, or maybe they just saw you in this world, I'm not sure how
Mm,
old they are. Do you have any entrepreneurs budding in the family or no?
no,
No?
no one's interested.
No one's interested. No one wants to take over the family business. All right.
No, no takers
Well,
yet.
that happens. That
Yeah.
happens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I only have one daughter. She had no interest in the law. Although when she called from college to say that she was going to major in legal studies, and she was so happy that I'd be able to help her with that. I'm like, what's legal studies? I had no idea. But apparently it was about really more of the philosophers around law, like Nietzsche and things like that.
Oh,
And again, I really wasn't
interesting.
into that. So I'm like, kids, sorry, you're on your own.
Hmm.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so you were born and raised in New Britain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, where's your family from?
Um, Sicily. My father's from Sicily. My mother's from Bari in
Cool.
Italy. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So I've been to Italy, but I have not been all the way down to Sicily. And was telling you before we went on today that I just saw this woman that was promoting, like, sort of like, hey, come down and buy land, and we're doing farming, and we want to start a community. And she sounded like she might have been Dutch or something like that. So beautiful area.
Oh, it's amazing. Yep. I don't think it gets as much credit as Italy does, but it's beautiful. Yeah. Love it. Was just there in November. My son was in grad school in Barcelona, and he was doing a year in Europe, and said, I have a free week. You want to meet me in Sicily? Show me where my family's from? I said, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a good trip.
Yeah, it was great.
I take it you had a great time.
Yeah. Fantastic.
What'd you eat?
What's big there is arancini,
What's
the
that?
rice balls that are fried. Um, Breakfast is a trip there. You have a cappuccino and either like a brioche bun or a cornita, just a croissant type of thing, or granita, which is Italian ice, and a brioche bun. So it's like wild that there's no eggs and, like an American breakfast. But so we're sitting in a piazza overlooking the ocean with a cappuccino and a croissant that costs $4. And I'm like, man, if we went to Starbucks, we would not have gotten out of here for less than $12 for a coffee and a croissant.
That's for sure. And it would have been nearly as good.
Yeah, and I'm not looking at the ocean while I'm eating it.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of fish in Sicily,
Yes,
right?
Yep, octopus. Yep,
Mm,
and fish.
nice,
Definitely.
nice. Awesome.
Good.
Hey, listen, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
I'd loved hearing about your story and getting to know you a little bit after buying some really great stuff from you for a long time.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. We're going to get some pictures up of some of the things that I bought over the years.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you for coming,
Excellent.
Paul.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, be well. If you enjoyed this episode with Paul Constanzo, our reformed banker turned small business entrepreneur, like and subscribe to the Elven Star Podcast. We have some amazing, fun people coming up, including a shaman and a Tai Chi master, 20th generation practitioner of Daoyin Tai Chi.
Brought to you by Ghost the Dog Productions. Barking from the rooftops, baby. Oof.
The Elven Star Podcast is underwritten by Ferry Law.